This Organized Chaos video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. Because my YouTube's is filled with the anti-woke stuff, I'm sure. Well, not well, that Star Wars girl is actually up there, but yeah. Actually, this is a better YouTube screen than I've seen for a while. We got Matt Walsh and that Star Wars girl. That's pretty bad. Have I seen Nerdrotic's new video? I'm not sure. Probably not, but I'm not sure. We could dig that up. Let's save Kevin Sorbo for the end of the night. So we'll do that 8:30 or so. Sound good, Mikhail? Yeah. Wakanda. Oh, okay. So it's his review of Wakanda Forever. I wouldn't mind doing some research into Phantom Menace and Wakanda Forever. So yeah, this will work.
Amazing. Get ready, people. Get ready.
Hold on. Wakanda Forever is a disaster. Absolute MCU. You know what's an absolute disaster? The entire expression MCU. That's like the dumbest thing ever. What's the description? Black Panther, Wakanda Ever is everything wrong with Disney Marvel in the definition of the MCU, aside from being a Black Panther sequel without Black Panther. Black Panther's in this. I don't know what you're talking about. It's too long, boring, and bogged down by task-oriented plot that is weighed down by setting up the next Disney Marvel thing. In other words, a hot mess. It is too long, and it is a little bit task-oriented. Okay, I'll give you that. It definitely has Black Panther, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about on that one.
Yes! I want to have this
Oh, have I seen Wakanda Forever? Yes, absolutely. I saw it last weekend. I talked about it in the podcast, which should have been released earlier today. Cliff Notes, I wasn't thrilled by it, but I kind of want to watch it again. I have my issues. We'll see if Nerdrotic gets some of them.
I had to learn how to swim. Yeah.
I have my Amina Muaddi shoes, and then I have my Brandon Blackwood and systemic racism bag here. Yes. This purple little number, I love it.
Okay, so all that behind the scenes stuff, I want to ask you, what does that have to do with the movie? It doesn't have anything to do with the movie at all. Like, just go in and watch the movie and see what you think. Who cares what some actress says on the fucking red carpet? I don't care. And I love that. It was an all Chadwick Boseman Marvel Studios logo. That was a nice touch.
Nerdrotic.com.
We hope you enjoyed the last Disney Marvel product. Now get ready for the next Disney Marvel product.
Well, congratulations. They're a movie studio that makes lots of movies. That's what they do. What do you expect them to do? Just not make movies?
Remember when we used to get excited about a Marvel film? Imagine 10 years ago.
I was pretty damn excited for all the movies this year. And I have been super thrilled. I like Doctor Strange 2. I don't know why people are so down on Doctor Strange 2. That was solid. Thor: Love and Thunder was entertaining. Black Panther, we'll get to. There are definitely things I respect about it.
If someone told you that there would be a Black Panther movie where he fights Namor, my nerd head would have exploded. Unfortunately, this wasn't made 10 years ago. It was made in current year, and well...
Let's talk about that diversity and the representation.
Who cares? Get to the movie, dude. You're just gonna spend half this video whinging over fucking diversity. Dude, get over it. Cope.
Oh, here we go again.
Representation.
Representation.
Representation. Representation.
La representación, representaciones, las representaciones. En la representación, representaciones. Representation.
It's almost like he's out there promoting his movie that he's in. Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird how actors go out and promote the movies they're in? Isn't that weird? That's very weird, right? Oh, wait, maybe that's normal and you just want to whinge about something.
Representations, representation.
I'm a piece of representation in gaming and see representation on the big screen and
To feel represented.
Represented.
Representation.
Represented. They're representing.
Representing.
This representation.
Exciting, right?
I mean, it's not something that we do because it's a political move, but it's because it's really good for the story.
So many people are going to feel themselves represented in this.
It's too white, our television and movies.
We got a female Black Panther who looks like she
I mean, he is right. It's too white, but also, like, it took you a long time to actually get to the fucking movie.
needs a cheeseburger and a Namor that looks like he needs to mix.
Oh my god, she needs a cheeseburger. Okay, some people are just built slender, okay? Get over it. Some people are built thicker, some people are built slender. Just fucking Jesus.
It's in a salad.
I like to eat. Is that such a crime?
Admittedly,
he was in really good shape. What the fuck are you talking about?
we did get some dad bod representation, so I feel seen. Fact of the matter is, superhero films under Disney Marvel are devolving back to the Trial of the Incredible Hulk days, but worse. But I will say, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever is a fitting season finale to the MCU. We got good girl bosses, we got bad girl bosses, we got girl warriors and girl scientists because we need women in STEM.
You know what?
You know, the original Black Panther had all those things too, and you were fine with that. I guess, did it have any villainous women in that one? It may not have had any villainous women in that one, but it had all the other ones, and you were fine with that, so why does it suck now? It's almost like you're just selling an image.
Let's also talk about these young Black geniuses that we will get to experience.
Yes.
Well, I was in the stream last night with Pop Counter Culture, and I saw some of our Midnight Cake. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I'm in the mood. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of punching down. I will do it occasionally. I'm kind of like, I'm opening up to it. I still don't really want to do it too much.
She's a genius. She's amazing. A genius 19-year-old MIT student. You are a genius, and geniuses tend to get into a lot of trouble.
MIT educated genius.
Female genius.
A genius, a super genius.
A female genius.
Fuck, can you get to the movie? Oh my god. Yes, if you see a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes interviews of people talk about the same movie, you're going to see lots of the same things repeated because they're talking about the same fucking movie 50 billion times to promote it. Holy shit.
And like the greatest warrior in the world.
What there wasn't a lot of was men. Not sure what happened to all the dudes in Wakanda. Maybe they went off to get a pack of Salems and never came back.
Are you triggered by that? I mean, who do you care? Listen, if you're looking for dudes in the MCU, they're there, so don't worry.
Oh, shit. I don't know if I'll keep that one in. Up front, the film's worst offense, I mean, aside from being a Black Panther sequel with no Black Panther, is...
But it has Black Panther, you just don't want to acknowledge it.
It's boring, and it's most certainly woke, maybe on the level of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
You've got to do better, Senator.
I mean, unless you're a big fan of multinational corporations that like to thank concentration camps in China lecturing us about colonial...
Yes, that was a very bad move. That was done, what, 3 years ago? Can you maybe move on? I don't know.
Colonialism. And let's not forget that this is the same multinational corporation that covered up Chadwick Boseman's face with a mask on the poster for China. So welcome.
Yes, and that was bad. And that was 4 years ago. Can we move on? This is also the same corporation that did Song of the South. Let's not pretend Disney is like spotless track record. But can we talk about the current fucking movie at hand?
All 592,000 of you out there, plus the 43% that haven't subscribed yet. Let's review the Smokey and the Bandit 3 or the Waiting to Exhale 2 of the MCU. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the sequel to Black Panther without Black Panther.
I like it.
Okay, we're almost 4 minutes in and he hasn't gotten to anything that actually happens in the movie. Good. We're really doing great here, Nerdrotic. We're kicking ass.
To be conscious of the way that you look. Walking around here with that ash on your head.
Oh,
It's funny. You look good.
But you know, it's not just black tech geniuses. We're getting women at the forefront of this.
Which I love.
I know.
Which I love.
I don't know you. What is your name? The beauty, the strength, the intelligence.
Yes.
The intelligence. I am so excited for little black girls to see this one in particular, even more than the first one. I'm so...
Oh my god, he just keeps on going on behind the scenes stuff. Dude, if you're triggered by behind the scenes stuff, guess what? You don't have to watch it before the movie. You know all this behind the scenes stuff? I haven't even fucking seen it until now. Why? Because I was more interested in trailers and shit. I dive into behind the scenes stuff if I watch a movie and I really like it. Literally, all you have to do is not watch this shit and just watch the goddamn movie.
Excited for us.
Come down a little bit. Bring it down a notch.
Mikael, yeah, we could check out that one next.
T'Challa dies off-screen of an unspecified virus from an unspecified location. Because Killmonger had destroyed all of the heart-shaped herb, Shuri attempted to resynthesize it because apparently T'Challa's powers had faded, but she was too late. This is followed by a funeral. So we're off to the races with 2 hours and 41 minutes of plot-driven, task-oriented product. Mix in some genuine loss and grief, followed by a lot of sitting around and talking about feelings, and a whole lot of what Hollywood's...
I would actually prefer more conversations about sitting around and talking about feelings, because I felt like that a lot of the emotion in this movie wasn't quite there. Let's see where he gets to, because I do have gripes about this movie, but God, he's barely fucking touched this goddamn movie.
Idea is of the consequences of colonization. The film opens up with some colonizer mercenaries attacking the Wakanda Mali outreach station. Mali, Africa.
Michaela, I 100% understand. Yeah, this is kind of the grift, though. I don't know the number of people who just watch this shit all the time, but they do. It's burning me out, but yeah, this is, we gotta tackle shit like this, because these guys are popular, and fuck. They're bad. They're just abhorrent. I mean, we're over a quarter way in, and he's barely touched on the fucking movie.
I hope the Wakanda outreach was to teach Mali not to keep their little girls from going to school and not to kidnap them and force them into marriage. This is intercut with them getting chastised very well, by the way, by Angela Bassett's Queen Ramonda. And yeah, there are some decent performances in this film that get weighed down by all that plot and the sheer Disney of it all with all the identity politics and shoehorning in characters that shouldn't be there. If there's anything you want to compare this to, I would say Iron Man.
I will say Ironheart. All these guys like to scream about nobody cares about Ironheart. When Ironheart popped up in full suit, my theater cheered. So I don't want to hear shit about nobody cares about Ironheart. People care about Ironheart.
Man 2, but it's not as good. Then there's another attack on another facility in the dark. This time it's the Talokans attacking a U.S. research facility that just so happens to have a vibranium detector. And from the looks of it, it appears that the Atlanteans,
Talazora the Beagle, he got 500,000 views just by this video alone. Classic example of choosing money over integrity. I used to be a big fan. I unsubbed in 2020. Dude became insufferable. Now he's even worse. Yeah, no, as I've been watching these guys, I feel like they've gotten worse. Does this video already have 500,000 subs? Jesus. Or 500,000 views? It does. Oh my god, this is terrible. And that's the thing. Like, I remember watching that older Nerdrotic stuff when I looked at the reviews for original Black Panther. That was, like, decent. I could see myself just turning that on and just putting that on in the background while I edit something. It was just two guys chilling, talking about a movie they enjoyed. It was actually nice. And what was interesting was when you watch that video, you can see that, like, Gary is, like, actually kind of excited to talk about the movie, and he's happy to talk about the movie. And, like, he just seems so dead in these new videos. It's ridiculous.
Talokans aren't that isolated. Maybe Dr. Fauci got to them too. And the reason I'm talking about this scene so long is because it's the one I actually liked. I loved the siren song, getting people to kill themselves, and then Namor kills somebody. And if you squint, and because it's in the dark, it almost kind of looks like Namor, and that's the only time he does in this entire film.
El niño sin amor, por eso le dicen Namor.
¿En serio?
El niño que creció sin amor, Namor.
I am a Spanish That is genius!
Briefly, though, let's circle back to that United Nations scene, and as good as an actress as Angela Bassett is, it doesn't make it any less cringe. Oh, look, we found some men, only to make them kneel before Queen Ramonda, who
Based? What's wrong with that?
turns the mercenaries to the United Nations and then warns them not to mess with Wakanda or its vibranium because she's worried about what the rest of the world will do with it. Quick reminder, Wakanda is a nationalistic ethno-state with a force field wall around it that picks its leaders through hand-to-hand combat and not the...
Well, the hand-to-hand combat thing was one of the things that was an issue in the first one. Just bring that up. I assume that's one of the issues addressed.
Will of the people, through their isolationism, completely ignoring the other African nations that were suffering from war, starvation, and disease for centuries.
Yes, these are all issues brought up in the first movie. These are all things addressed in the first movie. The movie agrees. These are things that they are doing that they shouldn't be doing. That movie agrees. Now we're on the second movie. Why are we talking about shit that was resolved in the first movie?
And turned a blind eye while they were being conquered by colonizers, who recently allowed their throne to be usurped by a psychopath. After Shuri and Queen Ramonda returned to Wakanda through the bongo and DJ activated force field, they decide to go on a walkabout to discuss the passing of T'Challa, and that's where they're confronted by Namor. And we get this classic clip.
This place is amazing. The air is pristine. A protected land with people that never have to leave, that never have to change who they were. What reason do you have to reveal your secret to the world? Who are you? I have many names. My people call me Khan, but my enemies call me Namor.
Right. I don't understand what's his issue with that scene. What does he just think? What the cuckoo can sounds silly? Yeah, I guess, but like that's like a societal thing. There's nothing wrong with that scene. Of all my issues with the movie, that scene is fine.
And we finally have enough set up to let the task-oriented plot develop. Namor blames Wakanda and T'Challa for bringing vibranium to the world, even though the world already knew about it.
This one? No, that's just a prototype. What's it made of? Vibranium. It's stronger than steel and a third the weight.
So he blackmails Wakanda into abducting and then eventually killing Riri Williams, young female POC super genius prodigy who invented the vibranium detector. Or Namor, the boy who grew up without love and turned into a toxic male, will wage war on Wakanda with his superior forces that they just take his word for.
I mean, I guess he's the villain, so I guess he's a toxic male. Yeah, whatever. I swear, they just throw words around. Jesus.
Eventually, Wakanda sends the warrior woman Dora Milaje Okoye and the female prodigy POC super genius Shuri to go find the female prodigy POC female super genius Riri Williams. And yes, they are exactly the same character, but just when you think...
They're not the same character. They're just both women of color who are super geniuses. They're not remotely the same character. They're... fuck. Meh.
Disney Marvel couldn't get more cringe. Why just have one girl who is the key to everything when you could have two girls who are the key to everything?
Dude, like, Ironheart's not even that huge a character. She's there for a bit of it, but, like, yeah, it's Shuri's pretty much the protagonist here. Riri is a secondary character at best.
Which brings us to this infamous clip.
I'm warning you, do not take another step toward me. See how they teach the children to treat their guests. Who brought this spear in here? Who brought a spear in here? I like her. It's all right, princess. Small girl. I am going to give you two options. You can come to Wakanda, conscious or unconscious.
You need to be conscious of the way that you look. Walking around here with that ash on your head.
Oh, it's funny. You look good.
Surprisingly enough, Okoye
Again, it's... What's wrong with that scene? Jesus.
Completely fails at her job and eventually gets fired for it. And even though the Talikans blackmailed the Wakandans into going and abducting the girl who was the key to everything to eventually kill her so they would keep their society safe and secret, they decided to just go out in the open by jumping off a bunch of whales on a bridge in public to abduct the girls who are the key to everything. You think that sounds bad? Try watching it.
Yeah, they wanted to get the scientist who was making the vibranium detector because the vibranium detector was detecting their vibranium, and they don't want that detected. That makes sense. What's your issue? Please, I beg you!
But I've got to give it up to Disney Marvel once again. After taking, admittedly, two B-list characters, Captain America and Iron Man, and turning them into household names, they, unbelievably, took the Black Panther and not only made him a household name, made him a top-tier character. And how do they follow that up? By killing him off screen and making the MCU a household name.
Well, yes, Chadwick Boseman tragically passed, so part of the movie is a tribute to him. Yeah, I mean, they had different ways to handle it, but they decided to go ahead and handle it this way. For what it's worth, the stuff they did to tribute Chadwick Boseman was really well done. That stuff almost had me in tears. So they have that.
And it's a race to have the women of Wakanda, because there's no men anywhere, save the girls who are the key to everything, so two peaceful utopian societies won't go to war with each other, and then one of them eventually with the rest of the world, all over keeping vibranium from the white people. Now, the plot does stop every 10 or 15 minutes, so women can sit around and talk about their feelings, and so they...
Well, actually, part of my issue is they don't really talk about their feelings. They mostly just go over plot points of each other. That's kind of my issue.
Can remind us that T'Challa is dead, and this is the point where the film gets a bit exploitive. I'm sorry, did I say a bit? I mean a lot. I think the tributes at the beginning and at the very end of the films were done very well. It's everything in between this 41-minute mess that gets, again, exploitive. There's a good 45-minute stretch where nothing significant happens in this film. It's just performing tasks to move plot forward, and many have said that this film is 45 minutes too long. I would argue you take out that 45 minutes and this is still boring. For the sake of your time, which I value, and my sanity, which I also value, and quite frankly, it's hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, we can tell it's hanging on by a thread, dude. You've not been doing well the past couple of years.
I'm not going to do a full breakdown of this movie like I normally do because it would go something like this. Sure.
Well, dude, your full breakdowns get fucking boring, so thank you.
Shuri is sad and won't talk about her feelings. The Queen is sad and can't get Shuri to talk about her feelings. Okoye is sad. Nakia is sad. Riri Williams is really smart and built a vibranium detector in school. How? Don't know. She also...
Yes, because she's really smart. Tony Stark built a fucking Iron Man suit in a cave with scraps. Why? Because he's really smart. These are comic book characters.
Built an Iron Man suit with an arc reactor out of spare parts. How? Don't know. We'll just go over some of the highlights. After the Talikans abduct the girls who are the key to everything, the film just decides to stop and go into full exposition mode as Namor tells his entire origin from in utero to Shuri. A retconned, risk-averse, brand new, intellectual property issues avoiding origin that has nothing to do with the comics. In the beginning, my mother and father got busy and made a little niño. Of course, my father dies because this is a Disney film. And then my mom took some vibranium.
And it's also a cliche of superhero movies. Dads don't usually do well in superhero movies. This is like superhero 101.
Ayahuasca, and I became a mutant. Well, that would make Joe Rogan proud, but not Bill Everett. After just meeting Shuri and then telling her his life story, he gives Shuri his mom's necklace, which just so happens to have the one thing she needs to become Black Panther at the very end of this film. One thing she needs to become Black Panther at the very end of this film. Vibranium.
How convenient.
Then there's our prodigy POC female super genius Riri Williams, who's more of a plot device than a character, only to exist to set up the next Marvel thing. Of course, she doesn't have a father because this is the MCU. But there is one thing.
It's standard comic book fare, dude.
Worse than her character existing at all. And
So what? Did he just get a fucking Isom shirt and he just wears it every day? He has like no other shirts. He just has Isom. What the fuck?
And existing in this film, her costume. This, ladies and gentlemen, is your replacement for Iron Man. Good luck, Disney.
Like I said, the theater cheered when she popped up. So I'm tired of people talking about nobody cares about Ironheart. People clearly care about Ironheart.
Admittedly, it is appropriate that the poster child for SJW Marvel that helped bury the publisher is in the season finale.
Comic book sales are actually up. They did really well in 2021. Comic book sales are not going down like these guys want to prop up. So that's bullshit.
For the MCU. Then there's the CDC compliant and body positivity Talican. And yes, you can absolutely tell this was a film made during COVID. We did get token white guy Everett Ross, and we did find out one important piece of information. He used to be married to Madam Hydra. Oh yeah, she was in this too because you can't have too many girl bosses. Other than that, Martin Freeman's American accent was a little off in this film, and he only existed to pass on exposition through phone conversations.
It was a little off? I thought it was just as fine as it was in the last movie.
All this followed up by one of the single worst final acts in any MCU film. After Namor.
That was okay with the final act. I thought part of my issue, I'll go into my issue, is clearly Shuri is the main character, but feels like the movie doesn't want to really commit, and it doesn't really, like, she's clearly prominent, but it just doesn't feel fully committed to her being the main character. And really, you could tell that from the fact that her arc begins like 2/3 the way through the movie, and she doesn't have an arc before then. And I think looking at it, it's because they didn't want to have two deaths back to back, but they need to give her an arc much earlier than they did, and that's an issue.
Attacks Wakanda and kills the Queen. Wakanda decides to take the fight to him, this time with a Black Panther. I just 3D printed a heart-shaped herb because I am a brilliant prodigy.
Yes, she is a brilliant prodigy. Thank you.
POC, female of science.
She's a genius.
100-pound soaking wet female Black Panther. That's right, you get about 12 minutes of the female Black Panther in the Black Panther sequel. There's a big messy fight where most of the Wakandans drown, and then they decide to stop fighting. After Shuri gets reaved by Namor, she somehow defeats him and shows mercy because she understands the underlying theme of this entire film.
Yeah, she survives because she's got that Black Panther herb and the suit. So, yeah.
These two peaceful utopian cultures are just victims of colonization. And then the film ended and I finally took the nap I had been fighting off for 2 hours and 40 minutes. After I woke up from that nap, a harsh reality kicked in. I'm not getting that 2 hours and 41 minutes back, so don't waste the time. I was also left with a lot of questions. Can't get to them all here, but here's just a couple. Are mutants in the MCU really going to come from vibranium ayahuasca? Did having two girls who are the key to everything actually get women into STEM? And the biggest question of all, where's Namor? The only semi-positives I can say is...
Where's Namor? He was in the movie. Are you upset because it's not Atlantis? Listen, I wasn't a huge fan of the name change, but I understand why they did it, because Aquaman was too soon. I would have kind of preferred maybe if they stuck with Atlantis, but this is like total fucking nitpickery. Actual Namor established and his backstory and what they did with him, I actually was fine with, and I thought the actor did a good job. I would say my biggest issue with Namor is that he doesn't feel villainous enough. They don't bring him quite to the breaking point where he feels like crazy villainous, and that's an issue. He feels a bit too reserved as a villain, as if they're trying to hold him back so that people don't hate him so he can be a hero later, obviously. But I feel like they need to do something to make him a bit more villainous. As a villain, he didn't quite work for me. As a character, he worked quite well, I thought. But as a villain, not quite.
Is they tried very hard to have a more serious tone, but it ended up being just melancholy. Not that I was missing that cringe Marvel humor, because I wasn't. As I said before, the actual tributes to Chadwick Boseman were done well, and the mid-credit scene was pretty good. And that's about 3 minutes of the film. Other than that, there was cringe dialogue, except for this one line.
You do not sneak into my country and tell me what is fair.
Based. Sloppy editing, sloppy directing that went right along with the storytelling that was both too busy and slow as fuck. And yeah, there were a lot of women in this film, and that would have been fine if they actually acted different from each other, but we had a lot of the same characters, the aforementioned girls who were the key to everything.
Yeah, pop counterculture. Gary has huge I'm still mad about getting bullied in middle school vibes. Yeah, he kind of does, especially in his newer videos. In his older ones, he was just kind of just a regular nerd, just talked about movies he loved. In these newer videos, he's not right anymore.
That were POC female prodigies of science, and the rest of the Wakandan cast was soulful saint, regal, stoic, empowered woman, with a side of Victoria Alonso. Wakanda Forever, or Women Forever, perfectly sums up the MCU and the current problems with Disney Marvel. Always setting up the next thing, bloated, soulless exposition, piss-poor effects, piss-poor storytelling.
That's the thing. I actually thought the effects in Black Panther Wakanda Forever were decent. They were solid. They were definitely the best effects of any of the Marvel movies this year. Not even close on that metric. I didn't really notice many effects issues. So yeah, good on Disney for that one.
And forcing a bunch of Z-list characters who are essentially a bunch of scabs who will never ever be able to replace the starters. You should have recast Black Panther. You should have recast Captain America. You should have recast Iron Man. Again, you may...
Well, maybe they don't want to drill those characters into the ground. Listen, they want to introduce new characters because new characters mean new arcs and new story possibilities. I don't know how many story possibilities you have left with Tony Stark, because we've done a lot with Tony Stark. So it makes sense to kind of expand off and do other characters. Because there's lots of characters we have yet to even cover in the Marvel Universe. Even now we're having the new characters. There's a lot we haven't even covered yet.
Made these characters household names, and then you killed them off and expected people to accept the Z team. That's the same experiment you tried to pull with the all-new, all-different Marvel in the comics, and it completely failed and surprised.
Yeah, comic sales are up. So, no, it did not completely fail. You're just lying. If you have evidence that it completely failed, please, show me the numbers. Because numbers I saw show that went up.
Surprise, you're going to get the same results here. Looks like Wakanda Forever is going to have a decent opening weekend on the low end of the...
And here, when this is done, I'm going to pull up comic book numbers. I'll show that they are doing quite well, actually.
Reduced projections, but there's no way to spin this. This is more Disney diminishing returns. And as I said in my last Disney Marvel video, this is not just a Disney Marvel problem. It is a Disney problem. Mix in the Lucasfilm apathy and mix in Disney taking a side politically with their not-so-secret agendas, and well...
Happening today, a group of Disney workers vowing to walk off the job all over fallout from Florida's new parental rights and education bill.
I pledge to be a better ally for the LGBTQ plus community, apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be, and committed to ensuring that our company lives up to its values. I meant every word, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
Is missing on both revenue and adjusted earnings.
They are so triggered just because Disney decided to back off on that bill. Jesus Christ. I think it's funny because I've called him out for attacking that bill, and now he's just saying it out in front. Yeah, we wanted that bill to pass because we are bigots. That bill was super bigoted, and he's saying it outright. Yeah. Disney decided to not back that bill, take funding away from candidates that support that bill, and yeah, this is yeah, thank you, Gary, for being so forthright with your bigotry.
Per share revenue coming in at $20.15 billion versus expectations of $21.26 billion.
He's got to be fired. That's pretty cut and dry.
You're firing Bob Chapek? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yes, because Jim Cramer is a good source for information, because he's never gotten anything wrong, right?
All right, just get the hell out of here. I got a goddamn campaign. And the one thing you do care about. Okay, then what is your son?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that was typical Gary garbage. But here, let me see if I can pull up those comic book numbers. Okay, this isn't quite the same thing I saw, but comic book sales in 2021 were at $2 billion. Now, for comparison, let's go ahead and... Now in 2020, they were at 1.2 billion. 2019, they are at 1.2 billion. 2018, they were at 1 billion. 2017, they were at 1 billion. 2016, they were at 1 billion. You see, comic book sales at worst are going up. Like, you know, they're either consistent or going up right now. So, like, this argument that all this woke stuff is killing comic books it's just a dishonest argument on its face. It's bullshit. It is absolute fucking bullshit. Comic books are doing actually surprisingly well. I thought they were dying for the longest time. I actually subscribed to that theory. Then I actually looked up the numbers. It was actually Dane, actual fandom, that pointed out to me, you know, comic book sales have actually been going up since they've been doing this woke stuff. It was, you know, what these guys call woke. And yeah, I looked up and yeah, comic book sales are actually doing decent. Comic book stores aren't doing great because lots of people are doing online orders, but comic books themselves are doing well. So yeah, this whole thing about wokeness killing comic books, complete fucking bullshit.
They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be.
Do you enjoy pain?
Pain don't hurt.